Welcome back to Broadscast.
I'm glad I stayed.
I'm Jackie MacDougall.
I'm Kim Goldman.
And we are talking with Dr. Carol Lieberman about a variety of things. Good morning, Dr. Lieberman.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Did you know that you were on our very first Broadscast back a few years ago?
Oh, well, I didn't know that was the first, but obviously it started you out on a track record of success.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So you're our
mojo.
You're our lucky charm. So we were just talking about Lamar Odom, and we know that you have some thoughts of where he is and how he got here, and what are your thoughts?
Yes, it's really so sad to see how someone. I mean, he started with very little. He started actually in a family situation where his life, he could have died much earlier. His life could have been a lot more, less. Certainly not getting the fame and money, and he could have had a very short, difficult life.
Right.
So to that extent, obviously, he came a long way. But to imagine, for a man, for an athlete especially, to be found in a brothel with sexual enhancing performance drugs. How humiliating, how, the idea that such a star athlete would need performance-enhancing drugs, and, that the whole world would find out about that, is really, aside from the fact that he's on death's door, and, that's obviously a much more important issue, but still, it's just, he's really come a long way, baby, down now, too.
Right.
And when he was, what really, I think he went to that brothel to begin with on a kind of suicide mission. Maybe it was unconscious or at least partially unconscious, but I think that the divorce from Chloe was the final straw. He had a number of losses in his life, that caused him to be depressed. That starting with the loss, so to speak, of his father, who was a heroin addict. I mean, that was, he wasn't emotionally there, certainly. And then the loss of his mother. His mother died when he was young. The loss of his grandmother. He had a child who died at about 6.5 months. And then recently he had 2 friends who died.
Right.
But now on top of all these deaths, he had the loss of his NBA basketball career, which really was, left him essentially with nothing much to do and time to dwell on all these losses and be depressed. And then Chloe, the divorce becoming final with Chloe, was really the final straw. I mean, technically it isn't, according to some reports, yes, that
they're still married.
Right. That
and she's making medical decisions on his behalf now.
Exactly, which is kind of...
with the influence. Right. So just so you know, Carol, we are a no Kardashian zone here.
And we're tiptoeing into those waters. So, I think that maybe we have the ability to be compassionate toward a guy who's had a really rough life. And I also think that when you become a celebrity, which I always say is like the biggest curse in the world, if you don't believe inside that you are worthy and you are good, and being a celebrity must be the most confusing thing in the world.
Right, because you have this, it's a false front. You can't understand why people think that you're such a big shot, because you don't really believe that in yourself. And it's kind of ironic. People who set out to become celebrities, who set out to become, let's say, actors or actresses, or even political figures, they are looking for this. Part of why they set themselves on this path is because they have very low self-esteem and they don't feel very worthy, and so they want applause from the rest of the world.
Some validation.
Yes, they didn't get that at home when they were growing up. So then, when they become a celebrity, they still don't have that foundation of self-worth.
Right.
I think I'm going to create an applause track every time I wake up in the morning, just have it play for me.
I have a theme song. I just walk down the street and I hear it in my head. But speaking of, not worthy, Jennifer Lawrence, who is, Hollywood's it girl, and she, is in movies with my boyfriend Bradley Cooper all the time. But she found out, several months ago during the Sony leak that she was making considerably less money than her co-stars, her male co-stars. And so she wrote an article recently for, oh my gosh, what is it called? Letters to Lenny. And she talked about how it wasn't necessarily Sony's fault, but that it was her.
It wasn't Sony's fault that she was underpaid.
Right. But that it was her fault
for not negotiating.
Because she didn't want to seem difficult or spoiled. And I think that's an interesting point, that you don't have to be a celebrity to kind of not stand up for yourself when it comes to finances and professional life.
Yes, but do you see the irony in this? And yes, of course, it is true that most women, or many women, do end up being paid. I mean, there still is this inequality in pay and all of that. That's very real. But do you see the irony in this? Here she's saying that she didn't stand up for herself enough, and she should have negotiated better, and all this kind of shit. It's a woman's thing. And now she's blaming herself instead of blaming Sony for giving her what she was due.
Oh, wow. I didn't see that, and now I do. You're absolutely right, because she's not saying you should have done this, but, I think there's...
But why?
She's still saying it's my fault. Oh, it's my fault. I didn't negotiate right. And I mean, really, she could even have a lawsuit against Sony. Perhaps she wouldn't win because she already signed the contract. But she could certainly for future. I mean, she could try, and she could be angry at them at least, because really, how much did she could certainly her worth in terms of box office draw would be at least as much as the other people who she found were getting paid, the men who were getting paid more.
But I have to tell you, from the flip side of that, I'm actually glad that it didn't go down that road, because I think it opens up a better dialogue about why women shortchange themselves and
how
why
we need to be responsible for it.
Yeah, and this is totally off topic too, but like I watch Grey's Anatomy. I've been watching it since the beginning, and there was an episode this past week about one of the characters that wasn't being offered as much as the other, and it was purposeful because the new boss was trying to encourage her to stick up for herself and advocate. And they
didn't just automatically give her the raise,
right? And so it was interesting that the whole episode was like her finding her voice and finding, like, she knew she was worth it, but she didn't ask for it.
Right.
And so I think there's actually a really big message to be.
And she was really angry. She was so angry that she wasn't offered this, but never once did she walk in and say, "Can I have that money?"
Right. And so I Jackie and I talk about this all the time about why women get in our own way. Like, why do we're always apologizing, we're always downplaying our importance, we diminish our value. Dr. Carol, why do you think that women do that?
Well, it starts with, it all goes back to childhood. Everything goes back to childhood. And it starts with wanting to be daddy's little girl, daddy's little princess, wanting to please daddy. And when daddies don't encourage little girls to stand up for themselves, but rather encourage them to continue to be people pleasers, daddy pleasers, and then grow up to be other people pleasers, especially men pleasers after that. And yes, that's it. Men pleasers, because those are the people who generally are controlling the purse strings at the top of the heap. And so women just continue. And guys, like in dating and so on, a lot of guys perpetuate this idea or take advantage of this idea if a woman is a particular people pleaser or man pleaser, and they take advantage of that. So there's nowhere, if mothers aren't giving their daughters the voice, or giving their daughters the encouragement to stand up for themselves, then she doesn't get it anywhere.
But don't you think, though, that even when a woman still stands up for herself, there is a belief that she is...
There's a perception.
There's a perception that she's aggressive or that she's...
Yeah, she's a bitch.
Yeah, and so, I think that, again, kind of falling in line with what's happening in our presidential campaigns right now with two women running. I'm curious because I think the response that men have, the country has to women in that place of power, I think is jarring. I think people are not ready for that. As much as they may be capable, there's a perception that these women aren't going to be able to handle it, or that they're more difficult than these other men that are running. And I don't know how we change that.
Well, yes. I mean, it's interesting, like with Hillary, that Bernie Sanders got such a big lead. I mean, I think she isn't as the truth is, okay, yes, she did really well at the last debate, or the first debate, the first and last debate so far, and people were a little surprised at that. But I think that she doesn't really. I don't think that a woman is going to be elected, and I think that it's the fault of both these two women not really being as strong as some women might have been. Other women theoretically might have been. I mean, like a Golda Meir or something like, or a Margaret Thatcher or something like that. I don't think either one. You're talking about Carly Fiorina,
right?
I don't think either one of them are that strong. So I don't.
But use Margaret Thatcher. Margaret. I cannot speak today. What I hear about Hillary Clinton is that her advisors and people are always telling her to soften, to laugh more, to be more relatable. I don't think anyone would ever say that to Margaret Thatcher. I think people really respected that she came. And why are we telling Hillary to be someone who she isn't? I mean, granted, she's not going to be someone that I'm going to want to sit down and have a beer with. But I respect the fact that she is who she is. No one's telling Trump to be anybody different. Why are we telling Hillary to change her clothes, to wear different outfits, to be?
Unfortunately, that's the way it works.
But they're not telling the men that. Like, why aren't we telling Bernie Sanders to comb his hair? Like, why? He's a mess. Like, but people listen to him because he's exactly who he is. There's no BS. But Hillary.
But let's be honest. Hillary has a history of having some BS in her pocket. So it's
not about whether she has or not. It's her it's how she carries herself.
I know, but if she's going to be, I wish that I could say, "Oh, I'm so behind Hillary," But the problem
is it because of her pantsuits?
No, it's because she's not honest.
Right, but that's my point.
So, but they want to make her more likable because if she's already losing people for her, like the question, then they at least want to make her. I don't know.
Well, there's a kind of Hillary has a lot of problems.
Bill's not one of them.
And it's kind of like it could kind of be summed up in too little, too late. She should never have kowtowed. It's interesting. This is kind of like the Jennifer Lawrence thing. Not that we know, or I don't know certainly, what went on in that meeting between Hillary and Obama that got her to decide to back off and become Secretary of State. But that was her mistake, because I think at that time she did have a chance. And I think now, between all her health problems, I'm not sure she's going to make it to Election Day. She really does have health problems. And then this whole problem of being too soft or not soft enough, when Bill... The whole thing with Monica Lewinsky, then Hillary was blamed for not being standing up enough, for standing by her man. And now she's being blamed for being too tough, and she should be softened. I mean, she's trying everything.
Yeah, she can't win, literally and figuratively. So, real quick, because I know we're running out of time, but you recently tweeted about a post that you were involved in smoking in the car, and that I guess it's banned in Great Britain and the UK, and then also you had said, they talked about certain states had banned it here, and you don't think it should be something the federal government should get involved.
Yes, I had heard the news about it being banned in the UK, and I actually didn't even know that it was banned in some of I think it's 7 states, California being one of them. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they didn't make it very well known, but, of course parents shouldn't smoke around their kids, just, at home, in the car, wherever they are. But for the government to start, it's one thing in restaurants and nightclubs and that kind of thing, okay, where there are going to be other people, you're in public, airports, I get that. But to tell parents to make it illegal for you to smoke in your car, I think is totally reaching too far. I mean, what? Next they're going to say it's illegal for you to smoke in your home. Now, granted, there should be a more education for parents for why it's, what happens to their kids when they smoke, what happens to their lungs, and it's bad modeling and all that. But for the government to say in these private spaces that you can't do this, I think that's Big Brother gone awry.
Right, but the flip side to that, though, is that if the government's going to regulate that a person can't impact a stranger's health, I certainly would think that they would take their child's health a little bit more seriously. I mean, to me, as a mandated reporter, if a student came to me and told me that he constantly is in the car with his parents and they're smoking all the time and he's starting to have medical repercussions, I mean, that's child neglect. And I will only use the story.
Yes, okay, but I don't have a problem with that. but because there should be some attention drawn to that family and some help gotten for that child. I agree with that, but that's different from making it illegal.
But they're not in private. They're in a car on public roads. That's not, if you're in your driveway. I mean, I agree with you at home. Things are happening at home. People aren't making the best decisions. But when you are in a car, you're not allowed to drink alcohol. Even if you're off on a road by yourself with your kid, if you smoke in the car with your kid, you are killing your child. Maybe not as quickly, but you are killing your child. So I don't understand how it's Big Brother gone awry when it's abuse.
But then why? Okay, but then why wouldn't it be killing your child at home?
Because you're not in an enclosed, tiny area where that child has no option of moving out of it.
Well, but that's really a fine law. I mean, but a lot of parents, but in actuality, though, a lot of parents and kids are in the same room when the parents are smoking at home.
So I will use this example.
I was a kid.
a couple years ago, when my son was much younger, one of his visits to Chicago to visit his dad, his mom and dad, the grandma and dad, are huge smokers, and grandma smokes in the house. She's agoraphobic. She never leaves. The house is like a big cesspool of ash and smoke. And I had an issue with my son being there in that environment. She and my ex-husband were unwilling to change their environment and their smoking habits to make sure that my kid was healthy. So he came home smelling and reeking like an ashtray. So the next time that he was scheduled to go, he was a little older, and I told him that since, they're not going to accommodate, you need to leave the house. Like, I didn't want him sitting in that. But it was, you spoke earlier about the education of families of what the damage is, and I think that's kind of maybe where it stems from, that that if you're not going to stop doing it because you don't think that you need to, I mean, maybe understanding the ramifications of that long-term effect of smoking and constantly subjecting your children and loved ones to that.
Yes, and it could also be not just education of the parents, but when the kids start school, it can also be something that gets taught at early grades so that kids even see, like, pictures of lungs without, like brains on drugs and brains without drugs. Same thing with lungs, lungs with smoke in it and lungs without.
But then what kind of relationship does that create with the parents when they're going home saying, "You're killing me, look at my lungs"? Then they're mentally messed up.
My son did start telling his dad, like, please stop what you're doing. I do think that there is a place of empowerment, but I feel like when they're younger and they don't have a voice, that it's our responsibility as parents and adults to try to keep them as safe as possible. And when you lock them in a car and, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think like that's better dealt with, like you were saying, by reporting that to Child Protective Services, or like in a divorce situation, asking for supervised visitation because this is what's going on. But it's just different when it becomes illegal. I just get there's the Big Brother is getting into our lives in so many different ways. I mean, it's not like if this was the only thing, but it's just encroaching more and more every day, and that's the part that I think we all need to watch out for.
Yeah, I do agree with that. All right, well, thank you, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Thank you so much for being on Broadscast, and we hope to have you on again.
Sure,
you're our good luck charm.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Have a great day.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So, Kim, I think we should mark it down that you and I agreed on something. That was awesome. But we're going to go to break, and when we get back, if you're in the LA area especially, there's an event you don't want to miss, and a family that you will be inspired by. We'll be right back.
Thursdays in Santa Clarita just got a lot more exciting. Every Thursday from March through October, Main Street in Old Town Newhall transforms from a retail and dining destination by day to a thriving arts district by night. Thursdays at Newhall offer live concerts and dance performances, a speaker series, car shows, and don't miss the monthly block party hosted by Census every third Thursday from 7 to 10 p.m. What could be better than free weekly entertainment? Visit oldtownnewhall.com for more information.
Here's a crazy idea from Cash Call Mortgage. Take the mortgage you closed in the last year and look at redoing it at today's 15-year fixed 2.875% rate and APR with no closing costs. Just call 855-875-CASH, and with no cost or obligation, we'll tell you how much your payment could drop with the do-over refi. And you won't pay any points, deposits, or fees. None. It's so easy. Just do the regular paperwork, most of which you already did for your last refi, and we'll do the rest. So make the cash call at 855-875-CASH for today's 15-year fixed 2.875% rate and APR with absolutely no closing costs. The Do-Over Refi, only from Cash Call Mortgage. Call 855-875-CASH and see for yourself.
Impact Mortgage Corp. DBA Cash Call Mortgage. Equal Housing Lender. Call 855-657-9910 for terms and restrictions. Rates may change without notice. California Department of Business Oversight Residential Mortgage Lender Law License 4131083. NMLS 128231.
At First Serve Tennis, they know the ins and outs of the game. With expert workmanship in stringing tennis rackets and over 16 years on-the-court experience to equip you, the beginner, the casual competitor, and the I haven't picked up a racket in years player. First Serve Tennis Shop has the equipment and knowledge to fit your level and style of play. At First Serve, they carry name-brand apparel and equipment along with specialty items. Where else will you find same-day stringing service? First Serve Tennis, 27674 New Hall Ranch Road, near Valencia High.
KHTS. You're listening to Broadscast with Kim Goldman and Jackie MacDougall. They're huge in anywhere other than somewhere that you've been before.
Welcome
Hi.
back. Welcome back.
I decided to stay again.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
My voice
So if you're in the LA area or you're not and you have access to a plane, you should be in Santa Clarita on October 24th. And first, we're going to introduce Bonnie and Ethan. 25th. Oh my gosh, what's wrong with me?
Should we start over?
Correct.
You want to do mulligan?
See, unfortunately, we're live, so we don't get edited. But 25th Saturday. So,
Sunday.
Oh my God.
I'm loving this right now. Yeah. I'm just going to sit back here and
It
look
is
pretty.
Sunday.
Yeah.
It's Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to start over.
Meep.
This is what happens behind the scenes. So now everybody knows because they're like, wait, which one is it? It's Sunday the 25th. So first, let's talk to Bonnie and Ethan Marquez about their amazing son, Peyton, who I have a personal connection to the story because he's my son's best friend in the whole world. And he's the sweetest little 9-year-old. Tell us what happened. He was 6 years old.
Yeah, when he was 6 years old, we did a random blood test on him for something else, and through about a year of testing after that, we found out that he has a disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which is a degenerative and highly progressive muscle wasting disease in kids. So we found out basically right before his 7th birthday that he was that he had this disease, and he's 9 now.
Right.
So
And, I mean, everyday activities are extremely difficult for him.
yeah, they are, and they will become more difficult to him. And basically what we're doing now is just trying to protect his muscles from progressing even quicker. So we try to keep him from doing activities that kids love to do: run, play, jump, walk up and down stairs, like those things he shouldn't really be doing. But then how do you tell a 9-year-old, don't do that?
So how do you tell him? How do you explain it to him?
Ethan?
It's like the sex talk. The dad does it.
I cry, and I let Ethan do it.
Well, we have to have lots of conversation with him, and we have to try to encourage him to do other things and use his mind more than his muscles. That's one of the ways we do it.
And that kid's mind is pretty amazing.
Yeah. But it's a difficult task to tell your child not to run around, and a lot of people think that, you know, the old age theory of, you know, you need to work the muscles harder to get stronger.
Right.
That actually makes his muscles deteriorate faster.
Oh, wow.
So we have to be very careful about the activities he does. He can still walk, but walking, say, like downstairs or down a ramp, a downgrade will actually destroy his muscles, and they'll never be repaired. Unlike a regular person, where his muscles, your body naturally tears muscle fibers and it repairs them and makes them stronger. That doesn't happen for him.
Yeah, he's lacking what's called dystrophin in his body, which is like the glue that holds your muscles together.
Okay.
And he's lacking that. His body doesn't produce it naturally at all. So there's nothing binding those muscles together. So when they tear, they're torn, and they're torn away from the muscle. So there's activities he can do. Swimming's great. He can ride a bike. Luckily, we live in Southern California, so swimming is an activity that he can do. But again, like, he wants to run and play with his friends.
Right,
and so we allow him to do that, and then we monitor him when he's at home or other places where we keep him more calm, because it's just really hard to tell him that he can't.
Absolutely.
You
But
know,
the
and we
thing is-
want him to be a kid and have memories.
Right.
You know,
Right.
because
And
there
have a
could be
quality
a
of
day,
life.
a quality of life. I want him to enjoy experiences and enjoy what it's like to be a 9-year-old kid and have friends and be able to play and to be able to look back on that as a good childhood.
Do you guys have other kids?
We do.
Yeah.
That sounds like there's a lot.
Well, no, there are 3, but the little one is.
It's like
I
having
think it
5.
counts as, yeah. But what's amazing is that, you know, while other parents would be focused so much on their, you know, their son and their other 2 boys, you've created Peyton's Project. And which raises money to help not only your own son, but other kids with quality of life and resources. And you're doing a clinical trial through UCLA and just educating. I mean, because how many kids across the country or families are dealing with this right now, you think?
Well, it's actually I think it's the most common childhood terminal disease. It's and the disease is terminal. There's
no cure.
There's no cure. We're just entering an age where there's actually treatment after, you know, really, they kind of put a name on it, I think, in the mid-1800s. Duchenne was the doctor, a French doctor that kind of discovered or named it. But, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars have gone into this, and they're finally starting to get something that will possibly treat it. But it's not a cure. We're kind of like the infancy stages, like say like AIDS was.
Right.
But it's 1 in every 3,500 kids will get. It's really boys will be subjected to this disease.
Wow.
And it's hereditary, passed on from the mother, but generally, but in a fraction of the cases like ours, it's just a random genetic mutation.
Wow.
Because I have 3 boys that, if I was a carrier, most likely all three of the boys would have Duchenne, but only one does. And so when I was tested to make sure that the other boys didn't have it either.
How did the other kids in your family respond, and how do you manage this as a family, not just Peyton?
Well, the oldest is 12, Logan, and he has an understanding of what is happening in his muscles and that he gets tired quick and we have to be a little more sensitive to him. And the 5-year-old really doesn't have a clue.
Right.
But
him.
and likes to say, like, I'm stronger than you and things like that. And I tell him he's not meaning it to hurt you. He just wants, because you're his big brother, he wants to be bigger. He wants to be so. But you know, it's something that they're still brothers and they're still boys and they still fight with each other and argue, and I think that's actually healthy instead of keep as much as I would like to keep Peyton in a bubble and protect him from everything. I know that I can't, and at least I do know his brothers will support him and protect him out there, but they still are, they're boys, they're brothers. But I think it's also something that we have to spend time with the other kids individually as well, because Peyton does get a lot of attention based on his medical needs and having to go to UCLA once a week and all of his doctor's appointments. So, you know, we try to manage spending time with the other kids as well, but we don't really hide anything from the kids.
And tell us about the event Sunday, October 25th. And you know, when I clip this, like, that other stuff isn't going to happen. We're just going to share Sunday, October 25th. I'm having trouble with dates. You are raising money for Peyton's Project through. And what is this for? I know that Peyton was looking for, or you were looking to get one of those chairs.
Action trackers.
They sound so cool. You know, that go through, like, can go on the beach and absolutely provide a better quality of life. But tell us a little bit, because they kick us off the air in a few minutes. Tell us about the event, because that is going to be pretty incredible.
Well, it's we've actually partnered with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, the SEB. It's the Special Enforcement Bureau, and it's the Sheriff's Department SWAT team, and we're doing a mud run, which has been very popular. It's the 20th anniversary.
I did that.
And
we're gonna have to get her out there again.
After that, we have Peyton's Petting Zoo and Pumpkin Patch, where we have lots of pumpkins for sale, and we also have a climbing wall. We have multiple food trucks. We have
jewelry making.
I've always forgot about that one for some reason.
Face painting, human hamster balls.
So tons of activities for kids.
Lots of activities.
And is the SWAT team going to be there this year?
They will be there. They'll have their Bearcat, the armored vehicle, and kids can go in and play on it and learn about what they do.
And we have Atticus.
Oh yes, one of our biggest guests. I almost
from
forgot.
Malcolm in the Middle,
Oh, no,
right?
it's from the middle.
From the
show
middle.
The middle. Malcolm in the Middle. Look what I'm doing. I'm just adding stuff today.
No, Malcolm. Just the middle.
The middle.
Yeah.
Not Malcolm in the Middle. I don't even know. I haven't. The middle. Yes.
It's Brick from The Middle, the TV show. And he's going to be there. We're doing a book read.
Oh, very
very
cool.
nice.
Peter's laughing at me for my messes up.
Yeah.
We also have a professional pumpkin sculptor coming, and she's going to do a live demonstration.
Wow.
That's awesome. And also those hamster balls, right?
Yep.
You can get in and like
Yes.
race and all
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's a family
It's a
event.
huge
Where
family
the
event.
little kids, big kids.
It's
Now,
a
one thing to remind everybody is get there early. Parking, we have at least 800 parking spots, but we're expecting it to fill up quickly.
And where are we
Okay.
going to park?
It's going to be in Castaic at off Tapia Canyon Road, right off the 5 freeway. You just exit Parker, make a right.
Right by the mudslides?
Well, hopefully a little bit before that.
Yeah, it's way before that.
Okay.
And then make a right turn. Once you're in Parker, make a right turn, and you'll just parallel the freeway, heading back the way you just came if you're coming from Los Angeles area or Santa Clarita. And then you just follow the road. There'll be a huge parking lot, and they'll have some shuttles, but most likely it's probably better to walk.
But they can go to find you on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Search for Peyton's Project.
It's Peyton's-project.org.
And then we'll
Okay.
put it
It's our
on our
website.
website too.
We have to go, and we'll put it on our website and make sure that
Sunday, October 25th.
Yes. At what time?
9 o'clock to 4 p.m.
9 to 4. We will absolutely see you there.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
guys.
much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you.
And thanks for listening to Broadscast. We'll see you next week.